Living World Season 1, Clockwork Chaos. In the wake of the climatic events of the personal story, a villainous plot is coming to fruition. Queen Jenna has announced a grand gathering to celebrate the 10th anniversary of her rule at the enduring spirit of Kryta. But behind the scenes, not all is going accordingly to plan. Meet up with your friends Rox and Bram to attend the commencement ceremony and confront the enemy behind the recent disturbance face to face. After years of being unavailable, the Clockwork Chaos episode of the Living World storyline has been restored and restructured as a linear story journal episode. This episode is permanently available for free to all players and does not need to be unlocked. Over the coming year, we'll release 2 more episodes of Season 1 to chronicle the Commander's battle against the lurking evil between the end of the personal story and the beginning of Living World Season 2. The original Clockwork Chaos achievements, along with a new set of achievements, are now in the Clockwork Chaos category in the Story Journal Achievements section. Completing the new achievements will progress a new Clockwork Chaos Mystery Meta achievement to earn new rewards. I'm trying to think, was this when they had the voting? Because that's the Ellen Keel versus Evan Nashblade voting thing by the community. That was the one part of Season 1 where I didn't get every single achievement, so I'm eagerly looking forward to being able to complete that after all this time. Existing achievements will retain their completion status if you earn them during the original Clockwork Chaos release. Some existing achievements have been updated with additional goals or revised goals to ensure that they can still be completed. The original events of World Clockwork Invasions have been replaced by a permanent recurring invasion that takes place in Indarin Fields every 2 worlds. Oh, I don't even remember this. Worldwide Clockwork Invasions. So I guess they basically just added one dynamic event to Gandarian Fields. That's a fair compromise, right? The original epic experience was the entire Guild Wars 2 world was being invaded, but you don't want to do too much of that. Like the Palabala Joko portals are already everywhere, you know? It can get a little confusing for somebody who's just playing through the core story and like wondering why this stuff that happens in the future is happening on their map. Corteria World Boss Improvements. We've made updates and adjustments to each of the 4 starting zone world bosses. 4 starting zone world bosses. There are 5 races, so there's only the Char don't get a world boss in their starting zone. Our goal is to bring them closer to the current design standards by adding skill telegraphs and defiance bars, improving encounter mechanics, rebalancing health pools to accommodate the power level of modern profession builds. The Great Jungle Worm, Shadow Behemoth, Savnir Shaman Chief also received some model and texture quality improvements, and 1 champion Lubag will be added to the completion rewards for each event. That's good. Motivate more people to go do the event, so that when new people come into Steam, then they'll be like, oh, look at this first world champion boss that we encounter, right? And there's so many levels 80s here helping us. This is that, like, more and more I'm starting to see how ANET is preparing for a smooth Steam release. Nowhere in this does it mention Steam release, right? But they're definitely doing this because of the Steam release in mind. That is why they're dedicating resources to polish up these world bosses in literal starter zones, in the beginner zones, because they want, when they launch stream, they want to make this world seem as active and hyped as possible. They're doing that for the starter zones, and then they're doing that by boosting up raids so that when people like hear about Guild Wars 2, they want the talk around raids to be positive, for people to say like, oh yeah, raids are easy, everybody's getting in, you know, it's Guild Wars 2 has an endgame scene, we have raids, we have strikes, we have fractals, right? That's the conversation that they want. They don't want any negativity in the community when they launch Guild Wars 2. They want the experience to be as smooth as possible, and then they also want the conversation to be as positive as possible. And I think that's a really wise and smart thing to do, especially since they're doing that. Instead of like other gaming companies I know will just like delete your post if it's any slightly negative, right? Then that really pisses people off. But they're actually trying to foster genuine positivity and positive conversation in the community, which is very difficult, if not impossible, because some people will never be pleased, right? But I think it's the right thing to do and the noble thing to do, so I commend them for that. Make the game better, and then hopefully people will talk about it, right? Hopefully that's true, even though there are some people who will always complain. The Great Jungle Worm updated the model for the Great Jungle Worm to improve texture quality and model detail, increase boss health, updated mechanics of the encounter, improved messaging of skill telegraphs, rebalanced skills across the encounter, added additional rewards for successfully completing the encounter. And then the same for Shadow Behemoth. Increased portal health, specifically. And portals, even though their structures now take condition damage and crit damage, that's really good. So more health, but then they're also more susceptible to those things, which is good, right? That's actually really good. It's balanced out, because now you can crit, so lower level players will understand the importance of crits and conditions. They won't be punished for using a condition damage build, low level players. They'll be rewarded for taking crit chance and crit damage into consideration. And then to compensate for that, because obviously that's a power creep, they increase the portal health. So that's better design. Improving messaging of telegraphs is always a good thing if you're trying to teach the community. You know, don't stand in red AoEs and stuff like that. You want to make it very obvious for them why they went down. Fractal Mistlock instability improvements. Here we go, guys. Mistlock's instability system is intended to keep fractals of the mist feeling fresh, with each instability introducing a new twist that provides additional challenges when completing the encounter. I think that's a good design goal and a good concept. However, some instability combinations have a tendency to be more frustrating than challenging or fun. In the July 19th update, we are making adjustments to nearly every Mistlock instability to reduce frustrating difficulty spikes, reward players for taking advantage of positive play opportunities, and increasing synergy between instabilities across the board. So you don't want one, what was it, like, so what they're talking about here is, like, instabilities does add an element of randomness, and that element of randomness can keep things fresh. However, if they don't think about things carefully, some of the instabilities can combine horribly, right? So for example, frailty reduces your maximum health, and then there's another one where, like, you take more damage from behind, right? So what that means is that if you have a bunch of mobs which are coming from you in all directions, and you're like a thief or a guardian with a very low health pool, and somebody, you know, basically just like bumps their elbow into your back, you will die. You will just get one-shotted. And that's not really an intended, like, interaction. So stuff like that, interactions like that, were not fun. So that's why they're rebalancing things. We'll be keeping a close eye on these changes and how players adapt to them. See, so ANET is improving everything to try and make the conversation great when Steam launches, right? They want the beginner experience to be polished, and they want the conversation around fractals, strikes, raids, all of that to be positive. So good for them. And as a community, if you appreciate these efforts, I hope that you guys do. And, you know, don't be a negative Nancy. You know, obviously, if there's a legitimate criticism, then offer it in a constructive way. But in general, I think it's good to acknowledge the effort they're going through, all for free, by the way, to polish up the game, right? Because there's no sub fee. They're basically paying up this cost out of pocket, hoping that it pays off with the community being happy and with new players being happy. And if it doesn't pay off, then they would have gambled on the community, on making the game better for the community, and that would have been a bad bet. So hopefully the Skill Wars community is not a bad bet. Adrenaline Rush. Reduce the enemy's damage reduction when unaffected by Enrage from 20% to 10%. Enraged enemies now deal 10% increased damage but cannot crit. Critical hits with a 150% damage increase could result in random spikes of lethal damage with very little counterplay. Our goal is to smooth out those spikes by lowering the highest potential damage and raising the lowest potential damage. Look what they're doing, guys. After every single instability, it's going to take me a really long time to go through these notes, right? After every single instability change, they're telling you why they did it, right? So whether it actually accomplishes this goal or not, Guild Wars 2 community can no longer say, like, why did they do that to warriors? Why did they do that to elementalists? You know, like, you can't say that because now you know why. Does it actually do this? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But hey, they gave you the reasoning why, and they're showing you that they're doing their best and communicating with you as much as possible. Afflicted. This instability now increases the duration of both resistance and resolution. Boon duration has been lowered from 50% to 33%. Resistance upkeep was a bit too easy with this instability active and did not directly contribute to protection against enemy condition damage. Resolution has been added to this instability's duration benefit to give it clear counterplay for players to take advantage of. Boon overload. Rather than increasing incoming strike damage, each boon on the player now reduces maximum health by 1.5% to a maximum of 18% with full boons. Interesting. So you just get less health instead of taking more damage. I don't know how I feel about that, because now you can't counter it with protection. Changing from incoming strike damage to maximum health percentage ensures that all incoming damage is relevant to the risk of boon upkeep with this instability active. Yeah, it does make it more dangerous. It also enables better synergy with other instabilities that focus on increased raw damage. So they basically made this more dangerous, is what they're going for. More dangerous, but more like evenly dangerous. Flux Bomb. Flux Bombs now affect 50% less space, so they're smaller, have 50% shorter duration, and occurs 50% more frequently. A lot of 50%s, but yeah, so it's more frequent, smaller, but doesn't last as long. So it's yeah, it's a more frequent interruption, but less obtrusive of an interruption. You don't have to dodge like way the hell out of the way. Flux Bombs are incredibly noisy, and a reduction in size and duration should help clean up the field of battle. Increased frequency creates more opportunities to strategically place these around the battlefield, and afflicting conditions on enemies further incentivizes proper placement of both enemies and bombs. Wow, so these actually affect enemies now. Fractal Vindicators. Vindicator damage has been increased by 20%, health has been reduced by 33%. So that makes it so that you're more prioritized to take care of them, right? Frailty. Oh wait, Vindicators are meant to be threatening and a clear priority target. Yep, that's exactly what this will do. When they spawn due to their high damage output and ability to compound existing encounter mechanics. The health decrease encourages players to take these enemies down as quickly as possible, while the damage increase makes it riskier to leave them alone. So you're more so encouraged to actually deal with this mechanic and deal with this instability. Frailty. Rather than reduce health, players now take 10% increased damage from all sources. Because you already have something else that reduces health, right? So you wouldn't want Boon Overload to reduce your health and then Frailty to also reduce your health, because then you'll be boned. Rather than reduced health, players now take 10% increased damage from all sources. Interesting. Wow. So they basically just kind of swapped these two, because this used to make you take more strike damage, and now this is 10% of all damage. Health reduction is a very punishing condition when it's always on, changing to increased damage. So the difference is that with Boon Overload, you can scale up how much health you lose, right? So the more boons you have, that's a high risk, high reward situation. If you don't want to take the risk, you can just go with less boons or the most important and essential boons. Whereas with Frailty in the past, like, you just had a hard, like, this is a percentage of health that you have to be reduced. Alright, so flat 10% increased damage from all sources. Health reduction is very punishing condition when it's always on. Changing to increased damage provides clear counterplay from upkeeping protection while improving synergy between this instability and the newly reworked Boon Overload. Yep, just what I was saying. What the fuck am I listening to? Hamstrung. The slow effect caused by this instability has been capped at 33%. Okay, that's good. So it basically just counters, it cancels out swiftness. Losing movement speed while damage is a very powerful form of compounding failure when left uncapped, mitigating the potential for rallying moments in which the players come back from the brink of death. The new 33% cap maintains the risk of unhealed damage intake and reinforces the usage of swiftness and super speed as a counterplay in dire moments. So yeah, so that's a good change. They made it less damaging. What they're saying is that like with Hamstrung, you can really easily have things snowball out of effect if there's no cap, and that's true, right? We're recently learning and doing Fractal CM100, and then the tether mechanic. It's really hard to position the tethers and the green circles if you're like a little bit hamstrung. Last laugh. Enemy explosions now take 1 second longer before firing, but deal a flat 25% damage to health. Wow. So it's like in Final Fantasy, it's like a gravity bomb. It just takes a flat percent damage. That's actually pretty damaging. Is it current health? Current health, not max health, right? So you can never be killed by last laugh. It would only just chunk. The more health you have, the more health it chunks down. Stunned enemies now apply regeneration, stability, and protection to nearby players on death. What? Wow, so if you CC the enemies, then you can get boons from them when they die. Interesting. Last laugh can be very frustrating in Fractals with large groups of enemies. The extra second to maneuver around the attacks gives players some additional grace, while the flat attack damage percentage reinforces the need to respect that mechanic. So that they made it easier to counter, but more punishing if you don't counter it. Enemies applying regeneration in addition to protection and stability further reinforces the desire to coordinate finishing off stunned enemies. No pain, no gain. Stripping boons from enemies now applies that boon to nearby allies. Nice. The previous effect of life stealing when stripping boons had a reduced value if the player was at full health. Applying boons to your party is nearly always a benefit, so unless you have the boon overload. Boon overload with no pain, no gain, so the more you strip enemies of boons, the more boons you gain, and then the less max health you have. Applying boons to your party is nearly, that's why they said nearly always a benefit, and it introduces some interesting synergy with this instability covered with boon overload. Ah yeah, I just mentioned that. Outflanked. The damage reduction from being attacked head-on has been removed. Players now take 100% increased damage when attacked from behind. Wow, so wait. Damage reduction from being attacked head-on is being removed. Now you take 100% increase of damage when attacked from behind. Non-boss enemies now take 100% increased damage when attacked from behind or the side. Oh, interesting. So they now make it, instead of making you take less damage, now they made it both ways, right? You can flank your enemies or your enemies can flank you. Outflank caused some serious damage spikes that were capable of one-shotting players, which is rarely fun. The change, so this was actually outflanked and frailty was what I was talking about in my example earlier. The change to an offensive benefit that affects both players and enemies further enforces a risk-reward for players and can result in faster clear times when groups take full advantage of this instability. Hey, look, guys, look, you hardcore endgame power build fractal enjoyers. This will actually be a counter argument to you saying ANET is destroying power builds, because if you have a power build and you can and you have this instability and you can position things fairly well, then you can basically nuke down bosses, right? Oh wait, non-boss enemies. Unfortunate. Social awkwardness. The pushback mechanic while standing near another player can be negated by stability. Ooh, interesting. There are many mechanics in Fractals that encourage players to stand together. Allowing players to use stability to counter the pushback of this instability creates the opportunity for a clever skill usage and group coordination. Yeah. So you would slot stability when you normally wouldn't have it, if because of this instability. So that increases the utility of your character if you have access to stability. I like it. Stick together. Incoming damage when not within range of 300 of an ally is now increased by 25%, down from 60%. Players now deal 5% increased damage when within a range. Now deal a 5% increased damage within a range of 300 of an ally rather than taking 20% reduced damage. Okay, so this is more now high risk, high reward, because now your offense is going up if you respect the mechanic. And then you also, like, take more damage if you don't respect the mechanic. Stick Together created some mechanics of spiky damage. Can you imagine Stick Together and social awkwardness in the past? Then you'd kind of be screwed either way. But now you can stability through it, right? Stick Together created some moments of spiky damage intake and could feel unfair on encounters with mechanics that force players away from each other. Exactly. Reducing the percentage increase and flipping, percentage increase of incoming damage. Reducing the percentage increase and flipping the positive from a defensive boon to an offensive boon. One further smooths out the damage curve and actively rewards players positioning themselves correctly throughout encounter. These changes also created more synergy between this instability and others, such as social awkwardness, which can now be countered, which yep, exactly what I was saying before. Instability through it. Sugar Rush. Reduce attack speed and movement speed increase on enemies from 35% to 25%. Enemies with Sugar Rush now have 25% reduced critical hit chance. Enemies with high attack speed can be very dangerous, as more frequent attacks means more opportunities to critically hit. When combined with other instabilities that increase damage intake, this instability could be incredibly deadly and result in a higher chance of enemies one-shotting players. Toning down the attack speed, increase and reducing crit chance allows better synergy with all instabilities. Toxic Sickness. Yeah, I was actually talking with my Fractal Challenge Mode trainers, and because I hadn't looked at the patch notes yet, and they were all saying that it's a good change. And reading through it now, I would agree with them. These are all good changes. And I was saying earlier how ANET is doing this because they're doing all this for free because they're really trying to win over the goodwill of the community, and they want that because they're about to launch Steam, and when they launch Steam, they don't want any negativity. They don't want people to say like, "Oh, you killed Fractals," or "No rewards." You know, like raids suck. Like hard to get into raids. You know, like there's no hard content in Guild Wars 2. No strikes, right? So they're addressing all of that, right? They're polishing up Fractals. They're giving Embolden to raids to get more people in, and then they're making Harvest Temple so the hardcore players are now satiated. So they're trying to kill basically any of the toxicness and negativity that the community can possibly have. Yeah. So it's really risky on their part because as a company, they're spending time and money and putting forth resources without asking to directly be compensated. Like none of these changes are going to like benefit them in the gem store sense, right? Like not as much as pumping out a new skiff skin or something would. But the company has faith that by making their game better, and this stuff does make the game better, then the community will appreciate and reciprocate that, and then the conversation around the game will change from negative to positive. And I really hope that the community realizes that and respects that and appreciates and acknowledges what ArenaNet is doing, right? Because a lot of companies will stifle negative conversation by banning people in forums and like ignoring it and stuff like that. But they're doing the opposite. They're doing the right thing and the hard thing, which is hey, respond to criticism and make the game better, and do it without, you know, like immediate return. Do it without saying like you've got to pay us in the gem store for that. So good for them. All right, toxic sickness. The toxic sickness vomit attack now affects both allies and enemies. Yes, I heard about that. And applies a poison, torment, confusion, and deliberated conditions. In Fractals, deliberated decreases outgoing damage by 10% per stack up to 30%. I don't think I've even heard of the deliberated condition before. Like, is that unique to Fractals? It might be unique to Fractals. So you can get up to 3 stacks for 30% decreased damage. Wow, this is actually amazing then if you barf on the enemies. And it makes it even more so you don't want to barf on your friends. What else about this? We wanted there to be a clear risk-reward element to toxic sickness, focusing on creating opportunities for strategic positioning amongst the group to take full damage of this instability. The rewards are high, although the punishment for failure is higher. That is very true. I wonder if these conditions scale off of your character or the enemy. Probably your character, right? Which would be insane because right now, Kandi is meta in Fractals, so if you barf on your friends, you will be doing them a lot of damage and making their DPS go down. So they'll be very mad. Because I think in the past I wasn't used to respecting this mechanic. I was like, if you get barfed on, just wipe it off, keep going, right? But now you actually really have a reason to be mad if a teammate barfs on you. Toxic Trail. In addition to cleansing the area, blocking trail attack now applies the exposed condition to enemies near the source of the trail. This effect can be triggered once per second per trail. Ooh. So you definitely want to block the trail now. This instability needed some extra incentive for engaging in the trail cleansing mechanic, especially in scenarios with fewer enemies and therefore fewer trails. The ability to apply exposed to enemies by cleansing the trail creates some strategic play for opportunities and interesting synergy with other instabilities, such as a new outflank. Actually, I didn't know that these trails can be could be cleansed. It's been a while since I delved into hardcore endgame, and I'm only just now getting back into Fractal, so I don't know how you would cleanse that. I'll have to ask people in my community in OCD like what this means and how to cleanse it. Vengeance. Vengeance now affects elite foes in addition to applying weakness. Stripping boons now deals damage to nearby enemies. Weakness was a good incentive to engage with a boon strip mechanic, but did not feel powerful enough on its own. The addition of damage applied by stripping boons rewards engaged players with faster clear times. And you know those fractal players, they love their speed clear times, right? So yeah, I guess it's subtle, but they are doing things to kind of like smooth things over and satiate the power fractal community who are like really unhappy with fractals as of recent changes. Bleed Fire. This instability has been removed from the active rotation. No more Bleed Fire. I have heard about this change for sure. And ironically, right before this patch hit, we did Fractal CM and T4s with the Bleed Fire mechanic active, so I got to experience it for a little bit before it went away forever. Bleed Fire was a frustrating instability to play around because it was difficult to read in combat with many enemies. It could also double up with other abilities to create gameplay moments that felt unfair or stacked against a player. Rather than reworking this instability, we have shelved it and spent an additional time on polishing and improving the rest of the lineup. There we go. Raids. Let's see what we've got in store for raids, although I think they gave us the juice already in the preview, but we'll see. Look at this open communication, right? Like, ANET is really bending over backwards to trying to win over the goodwill of the community. With this update, we're making changes to raid rewards in an effort to simply... Yeah, I love it too. We're making some changes to raid rewards in an effort to simplify and standardize these systems by improving inventory management, consolidating reward currencies, and ensuring that players are properly rewarded for taking down these challenging encounters. Completing any raid encounter with challenge mode active now rewards a bonus chest event containing 2 gold coins, 10 shards, 2 tokens, bonus experience. Ooh, bonus experience is gonna matter to some. and a random exotic item. So that's also like a an extra reward that's being thrown in, a bonus exotic. Could be a precursor, guys. Get in those raids. This reward can be obtained once a week per encounter. This weekly achievement for completing 5 unique challenge mode raid encounters, top-tiered tear toppler, has been removed. Players will need to manually disable Embolden from the new Embolden mode once, or they will not receive any challenge mode rewards. We are working on a fix for this, and we'll update it as soon as the fix is live. See, good job owning up that there's a little bit of awkwardness going on, and that good job letting us know that you're gonna fix this soon. Because our CM raid team definitely went in yesterday, and everybody was like, take off Embolden, you know. So I gotta say, and I said this during the preview as well, I love this change. No more tier toppler. Although the iteration was fun, now it makes it so. Before it was such that like if you had a team that was good enough to try and take down 5 CMs, then you went for it. And if you got 4 CMs and you got stuck on the 5th one, then you would get nothing for that week, and that would feel really bad, right? Or if you guys ran out of time, my static would run out of time and we didn't get the 5th CM. No rewards, nothing. Feels bad, man, right? And then also, like, if you're a beginner group and you're going from 0 CMs to 5 CMs, that's a big jump, right? Like you guys are like, we haven't done any CMs yet, and in order for us to get any value out of this, we have to go from 0 to 5, right? But so that doesn't make sense at all. But now it's like, oh yeah, you know, we do 1 CM, we get 1/5 of the reward. We do 2 CMs, we get 2/5 of the rewards. So you get rewarded for every CM that you do. And then this is also great for the high end community, you know, because I'm sure that there are people who are gonna full clear everything, Doom CM every single week, right? They're gonna max out their reward. So the reward ceiling has been raised, meaning that the maximum income that you can get from doing this has been increased, and the reward floor has been lowered. So the effort required to get the minimum amount of reward, the floor, has been lowered, which is good. And then the maximum income potential, so the ceiling, that has been raised, so that's good. So this concept of lowering the floor and raising the ceiling is why people have been so upset with the most recent balance patch. Because ANET wants to lower the floor, and lowering the floor is a good thing. Nobody, not even the hardcore players, none of the hardcore players are against lowering the floor, right? But all of the hardcore players are against the fact that the ceiling also got brought down, right? So instead of just lowering the floor, they like blew up the foundation, and then the whole house came crumbling down. No more skill ceiling. That's why people are upset, right? So you want to lower the floor and either maintain the ceiling or raise the ceiling, right? So if they could do what they did with raids to basically the balance patch and the design, then everybody would be happy, because nobody's complaining about this, right? There are hardcore raiders who full clear 5 CM every single week. You don't hear them complaining about this. And then there are new players that can barely do any challenge modes, and they're all happy about this. So everybody's happy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, our community actually also did. We tried to do MO. We got Karn. I'm not a fan of Karn, but we did get Karn done, and then we tried. We tried for MO for a little bit, and then we gave up. It was after time though, so. But yeah, if you're a raider, man, go ahead and join the Discord, and then come hang out with my community. We do kind of like a perma-pug, perma-fill situation, where you don't have to commit to a static, but it's basically like an LFG, except a VIP LFG, because you get guidance towards like making sure you have the proper gear, the proper comp, so that you like fit into any raid that you sign up for. All right. Gating crystals have been retired, and players will automatically have any gating crystals in their possession exchanged for an equal amount of magnetite shards. So this is good. Good for now. Good if they're not going to release any more raids. I hate to say it, but if they're going to release a bunch of raids, then it's going to, like they're releasing new strikes, then they're going to have like an Icebrute Saga currency and an EOD currency, right? If they're going to release more raids, then it would make sense to have different currencies. But if they're retiring raids, then, you know, like, it makes sense to just only ever have these shards left. And honestly, I'm not too shaken up about them retiring raids, if that's the case. It was nice that you had these, like, separate story instances that you can kind of go into. But what I found is that, like, if I've got 10 people waiting on me, like, it doesn't feel good to make them wait so that I could watch the Samurai cutscene, or so that I can like explore the story or whatever, right? Like they should separate story from group play, which is what Strikes is. You play through the story on your own if you wanted to, and then the group play is just the boss encounters, just the fight mechanic, which I think is a better design. So, retiring raids, unifying their currencies, like they did with dungeons, right? They're never making another dungeon, which is why they unified the currency for dungeons. So they're polishing all of their systems, simplifying everything, basically. Dungeons, strikes, raids, everything. Endgame. We went over earlier the world bosses, so they're polishing the beginning of the game. I just keep thinking about the other game that I wasted a year of my life in, ESO, and how, like, they have zero polish for endgame and for the beginning. The experience is excruciating. The only thing that might be good is if you are like max level, max out everything, and you just play the most recent expansion, the most recent piece of content. They pump out so much content, but all of it is so poorly polished. I wouldn't say poorly designed. It's got some good design, but it's just glitches everywhere. Alrighty. The weekly magnetized shard currency cap has been doubled, of course, because they're combining them. Raids and achievement rewards that previously rewarded gating crystals are now magnetized shards. Yeah, they're just combining everything. Oh, this is what I was curious about, because I do have both. The portable gating crystal exchange item has been renamed the Kadim's portable magnetite shard exchange. Okay, so I basically have two items that do the same thing now. It's just another magnetite shard exchange. It's just like a different name for it. Okay, I've got two items that do the same thing, but oh well. Legendary divinations have been retired and replaced by legendary insights. You can consume your existing legendary divinations from your inventory and exchange them for legendary insights. Legendary insights will now be directly added to your wallet. You can add your existing legendary insights to your wallet by consuming them from your inventory. Ooh. Okay, so what this means is that they were not automatically converted, guys. So if you still have like a stack of, a stack of legendary insights, you can still ping that for people. And as for me personally, I remember a time when before Guild Wars 2 miniatures were added to like its own wardrobe, minis could be deposited into your bank like a material, right? So legendary divinations, LIs and LDs are currently being able to be deposited into your inventory. So what that means is that if you never change it, if you never click them, then they could stay in your material storage forever. Let me get into the game. Oh shoot, that was not what I meant to do. All right. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look and see what we have here. Ah, here we go. There we go, friends. So basically, if I wanted to, I can still ping a stack of... Can I ping it? Wait, what's going on? Okay, I can ping that. Oh, I can still ping these. There you go. You can still ping them. Yeah, these things are still pingable. Oh no, I will never be able to ping an entire stack of LDs. I will only ever be able to ping 139 LDs. This makes me very sad indeed. I should have converted some. Let me see, how many LDs do I need for a stack? Could I have had a stack of both? 250 minus 139 is 101. So 101 minus 338 minus 338. Oh, I wouldn't have had a stack of both. Sad panda. So what happened? I guess what happens is like this is gonna stay in my inventory until I remove them from my inventory. If I withdraw them from the bank, do I still have the Jenna Sanctuary? See, look at this. mini Jennas are still in my inventory, and this will forever be a part of my materials collection. The little mini Jenna sanctuary. She's safe in there forever. Yeah, back in the days when minis could be deposited. Yep. So the same thing's probably gonna happen to my LIs and LDs. I might just keep them in there for nostalgia's sake. Now I can't even use them. Thanks a lot. Or maybe I'll use everything except one. Or maybe I'll use everything except the stack. So yeah, so I just lost a stack of LIs because I'm probably never gonna use them, just to be able to ping an entire stack still. All right, let's take our chances again. And random portal time, random AFK background time while I go back into the patch notes. Let's see where this takes us. Yeah. When it was first like that, I didn't think it was cool. I thought it annoyed the crap out of my OCD. But now I guess it's a little cool. I can kind of see it being cool. There we go. All right. Scholar Glenna now sells Glyphs of Powers and Glyphs of Compassion, which can be purchased for the same number of wallet-based legendary insights used in their Mystic Forge recipes. World Polish. Updated iconic characters in some Living World Season 1 story missions to become temporarily stunned rather than needing revival if they are defeated. Yeah, that's a little anticlimactic. They don't seem as powerful if they're lying dead on the floor. Updated the models by the Watch Knights and Twisted Nightmares to be consistent with changes to the Twisted Marionette. Alright, what is this music? Personal Story Home Instance. Fix a bug that caused NPCs to appear inside walls and collidable objects. NPCs now appear on regular terrain as intended. Fix a bug that caused a Quaggan hatchling standing near the Orion Oyster gathering node to interrupt gathering attempts. Wow. Oh, yeah, this... Probably what they mean by this, and this is super annoying in your home instance, is if you try to gather something and a worthless, like NPC walks by, then, then you'll just be talking to the NPC instead of farming or gathering. But then the NPC doesn't actually have any dialogue, so instead of actually gathering, you just... Your action gets interrupted and it doesn't do anything. It really should fix that. Fix a bug that caused a cat model to overlap with a script model in the human home instance. What? So basically, a cat replaces script? Okay. Sky Pirates, Aether Blade Investigation. And fix a bug that caused Inspector Keel to lose her quest marker. General. Newly made crafting research consumables will now be automatically consumed instead of going into a player's inventory. Crafting research consumables now made prior to this update are unaffected by this change, so you still have to click everything before. Remove the Imperial and Everbloom purchase limit from Zazil. The strike mission rewards a vendor. Huh. Okay. So this is kind of like a cherry blossom type of infusion that is super, super hard to get. As of this point in time, there's only two ways to get this infusion. One way is to beat all of the strikes on hard mode. So yes, you have to beat Harvest Temple challenge mode in order to buy an account-bound version of this. And then the other way is you can buy it off the TP. Because like any other infusion, it's a very low drop rate. So this doesn't really make that big of a... This isn't that big of a deal because you can buy more than one, but the ones that you buy are account bound. So it's not like you can just buy them and then pump them into the trading post and then like tank the price of these things, Like it's basically if you want to use more than one on a different character or you want to compound the effect so that you're like covered in cherry blossoms or whatever, then you can buy more than one if you wanted to. Improve the visuals for higher contrast mouse cursors. Yeah, so that's a recent update. show you guys right now in game, actually. So I might play around with this eventually, but oh, this is what that looks like. You have this boom, and then normal mouse, YOLO mouse, normal mouse, YOLO mouse. You will never lose sight of your cursor again. Look at that. It destroys your immersion. No more immersion, but you will never question where your mouse is. Where's this? Look at this. Look at this. Fades in the background. Where's my mouse? Can't see my mouse, right? Boom, look at this. There you go. That's what that does. Dungeons. Fix a bug that prevented explorable dungeon path completion from registering players as having unlocked vendor purchases. After logging in, all players who have previously completed a dungeon exploration path will receive credit for 2 path completions per unique path for dungeon vendor unlocks. New Mischarge J trinkets are now available in the Skirmish Supervisor's Ascended Trinkets tab in W World vs. World. These trinkets offer the new Dragons and Ritualist stat options from the Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons expansion. So this is kind of funny because I think it was either Brazil or Teapot, probably Teapot the other day, who was kind of like taking a jab at ArenaNet, saying like, "Hey, did you guys know that you can't get Ritualist backpacks? Like, there is no way to get Ritualist backpacks in this an Ascended Ritualist backpack in this game." So there you go. They're just listening, gobbling up the feedback. Look at that, guys. Profession skills. All right, I might skim through this because I'm not an expert in professions. You guys can watch Tea Time for that. Engineer Mechanist. Mech Frame. Variable Mass Distributor. Fix a bug caused by the J-Mech's crit chance with this trait. Equipped to be exactly 17.8% less than the displayed crit chance in its pet stats tooltip. Guardian. Willbender has been a powerful force in PvP since the enhancement of Righteous Instincts. We're most happy with the impact that change had on Power Guardian builds as a whole, but it pushed Willbender damage a bit over the top. We want to be careful not to bring damage down too much, and we've started with adjustments to the offhand sword and rushing justice. We'll be keeping an eye on the impact of these changes, and we'll make further adjustments if necessary. So I will say that, okay, so first, good job, ANET, for telling us why you're doing what you're gonna do, okay? That was a mistake that you said that it was a mistake last time for not doing that, and it's a mistake you won't repeat. Secondly, I could be biased because I'm a Guardian main and I love Guardians, but Willbender, it now does less DPS than Kandi Firebrand. Willbender has a lot less utilities than Kandi Firebrand. So I don't think that was a good move. I think that Willbender should do a noticeable amount of more damage than Firebrand because it has less utility. Necromancer. Elixir of Ambition is an extremely powerful skill in PvP even after the reduction to its might application in the June 28th update. For this update, we're reducing the duration of the boons it applies, but we'll be keeping an eye on how it performs. Corruptor's Favor is another key piece of the build, bringing a high protection uptime that can be difficult to interact with. We're reducing the protection duration to make these builds a bit more susceptible to incoming pressure. Those are PvP only changes. Oh hey, these are PvP only changes too. Interesting. I was just thinking in PvE, actually. But I think it's true in PvE that Willbender's damage is now less than Firebrand's, so what I said still applies. Revenant. The Vindicator's defensive tools in PvP have continued to overperform. Avatar PvP amulet builds became even more difficult to kill following the recent changes to Legendary Centaur Stance and the Salvation trait line, but even aggressive Vindicator builds that take Imperial Impact over Saint's Shield have strong survivability through high Vigor uptime and solid self-healing on top of their other defensive skills. The healing skill and Legendary Alliance Stance are notable outliers in the healing potential, especially due to how frequently they're available to use. We decided to leave the healing amounts untouched to maintain the impactful moments when using these skills, and instead increase the cooldown to create a larger window of opportunity for enemy players to push through the damage. Bringing these skills in line with other Revenant heals require a significant cooldown increase, and we wanted to give some slight compensation by reducing the energy costs. Wrapping up the Vindicator adjustments are reductions to Vigor uptime and 2 additional changes targeted at Avatar Amulet builds to further bring down their self-survivability, with reductions to Saint Shield and Unyielding Devotion. We left most Salvation and Vitaria untouched for this update, as we want these tools to be available for potential support Revenant builds, and we want to gauge the impact of these set of changes before doing anything further. We're prepared to follow up with additional changes to Vindicator's survivability as needed. So that's promising, guys. They're telling us why they're doing something. They're telling us what these changes hope to accomplish, and they're telling us that if it doesn't accomplish that, then they'll continue tweaking things along the way through future updates. We're prepared to follow up with additional changes to Vindicator survivability as needed. Going forward, we'll try to strike a balance between enabling support builds and keeping selfish defensive builds in check. Warrior. Oh, Warrior, you have become the meme. In the June 28th release, we updated the Furious Burst trait in the arms line to include a 5% critical chance when under the effects of Fury. However, modern Power Warrior builds don't typically incorporate the arms trait line. Yes, you have been memed to oblivion for that, guys. Good job for realizing that. Meaning that warriors were not fully compensated for the Fury change. In this update, we've added a 5% increased critical chance to the Pinnacle of Strength in the Strength trait line. Furious Burst will retain its increased critical chance. Oh wow, so now you have 2 different ways of adding 5% increased crits. So they're not switching it over. It's still in arms. No, it's in arms and in strength. So there you go. Alright, friends, that is it for today. I will probably go over the older notes on my own because I still need to catch up on things. But yeah, if you guys want to talk to me more about this, come hang out tonight or tomorrow